All right, you're back for more with Les Kevin, more tech from UTEC IT. As I told you the first time we did this, this would be our guest. We'd have to have back for 2 shows because we can't get him into one. We probably need a third and a fourth, but
that's because the stories are all good.
Yeah. By popular demand,
Right.
we have the modern day Forrest Gump. He said something about chocolate, so he's back with us.
You never know what you're going to get, and this is perfect for today.
I can't believe you fell for this twice, Tim.
Well, and I said this, when you asked, and I say it again today, that you're doing something pretty special here. So I'm honored just to, and kind of curious why I'm here. But what you're doing and collecting so many different people and their virtue, I'm grateful. Thank you. Keep up the great work.
Oh, good. Well, we left off. We talked about we were talking about your family and the amazing family it was, and we talked about the ladies on that side. But I think we kind of ignored the boys on that side. So I want to get into the boys. But first, Grant's house. You've been very involved. I ran into you at the gas station, and you came back. You were on mountain hike.
Yeah.
I think because you just came from a meeting from there. But tell us what you're doing with Grant's house and a little bit about what that is and what's going on.
Well, I think you're going to find a theme here. I'm just a humble, small part. Very grateful to even be involved with this incredible effort by Chris Bonk and Gary Hoppala. And as I've shared with you, it's an amazing effort with an enterprise, and don't underestimate the power of purpose. And when you, as we talked about earlier, and we referenced my title on my card, we're parents first. And then you can be great executives and responsible representatives, et cetera. Well, Chris has a sincere passion, and he's got a number of stakeholders that believe that, a community first in order to create an enterprise. And he has and fully licensed a fully integrated cannabis operation.
Okay.
And it again, curious that it's made for medicinal purposes. And they're going to grow, they're going to test, they're going to distribute, and then they're going to retail. But part of that, which is, again, where I think there isn't enough of, and I think your journey with this program and programs like yours, you're getting a little deeper. And that's why you want to do work with people that have some depth, right? And then once you get that kind of connection, it's amazing what the possibilities are, because you and I were just talking about a relationship you had gained from an experience that someone brought people together, and boom, off came this creative product and program because there was a purpose associated with some depth. So this Grant's Place is a residential, house or building for children or adults that have special needs. And my daughter Morgan, who is,
We're going to interrupt you. Special gifts.
Special gifts.
Special gifts.
Special gifts. And again, thank you. And we've been calling them abilities too, right? Special abilities. Well, Grant's Place, Chris has Grant, and Gary has Austin. And we all kind of interacted at LESA. And again, I think all of us should go and see LESA's program in Howell. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it is a special place. I mean,
we got to get him on.
Oh my gosh. And it's part of the Livingston, education program with the schools. But all of our kids age out at 26 and they really have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So Livingston County, unlike, a lot of counties, but Livingston's obviously pretty special, we can't get the resources to care for our special gifts. And what Chris has done is created and bought this church, this Catholic church, the old Catholic church in Pinckney. And he has gutting it and putting a new roof on it, and we're going to service and provide incredible care. But again, the program that we're looking, and I call it a program for lack of a better way of describing it, is that Grant, Austin, and Morgan have so much to teach us. And because there's such a void for resources, for so many obvious reasons, like the guidelines to care for Morgan under her, if you will, category of Medicaid is you can't pay somebody more than a percent, a very flat rate. Well, try getting somebody in Livingston County for $13 or $12 an hour to care for Morgan. So you're restricted. So what we're doing with Chris's passion, but assigned to a purpose, is we're going to build this program where we're going to help the people that help, and we're going to create these programs and internships and certificates so that once they go through their junior college or their entry level criteria, they can come and learn. Morgan can teach in her very Morgan-like way, and Grant can teach, and they have so much to offer, so that then Livingston County we can create a model where Livingston County and other counties can take from what we're trying to do to lift and create more resources that could care for more Morgans.
So it's like an apprenticeship almost.
Yeah.
You're kind of turning back the clock, right? The apprenticeship model was really big for a long time.
Yeah. Thank you for and as you've heard, the energy that's coming from this is amazing. And we're we got a meeting on Monday with the city of Pinckney, and we're meeting with the county, and we're meeting with the state. So it's fascinating, and I'm at a point in my life where you get to pick and choose what you do, and this is one of them.
Well, I know I was so excited when you were talking about this, and I don't think people think about that we have resources, right, as you said, to get them through school and work with them and at 26, but I didn't think about that. But there's really not a plan to how you carry that on and carry that purpose and carry that care for these folks as they go through life after 26.
Well, and thank you for saying that, because, again, you're looking at a population, and unfortunately, this population is underserved, and the consequences, you can never outrun the consequences that you decided, right, that you made decisions on. So we're very, committed. And, the divorce rate in this population is ginormous. I mean, it's like 70+%. Now, what does that do to the community?
Right.
And what burden does that I mean, but everybody's bucketed into that silo of, okay, this is a wage. Well, if I increase the wage, maybe I can save a family that's not going to be incarcerated and put a bigger burden on the community. Or it's going to not jeopardize or compromise the capacity at the mental health facility because we're investing in more on the front end. I mean, so there's really a value prop. And as you're right, I don't think there's enough people that know who will do more if they only knew.
Right.
So thank you.
Yeah. So we'll come back, and we'll have to get deeper into that as you guys get along, and if there's anything we can do. And we'll get some information on the end of the podcast about Grant's house. That may want to go there and find out some more information on that.
Kevin, we were working with Wayne Media on the remote podcast. That might be an opportunity for us.
Oh, my gosh. It's going to be, and again, because you have, the individuals that are involved that are purpose-driven. I mean, there's a connection and the value that the community and the county and the state need, because there just aren't the resources. And you can ask, the business folks in our community, Brighton. We have to get, workers from Genesee County.
Yeah.
And we pay for a bus.
To
get them here.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Tim, afterwards, we should have a little talk about the apprenticeship model.
Thank you.
We're as an organization doing work with the local community college, Washtenaw.
Well,
and it's specific into that area, and that is a very large. It's a growth area because not everybody's cut out for the 4-year college,
Absolutely.
and this is another pathway
Absolutely.
for folks to get into a career.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's thank you.
Little discussion afterwards.
Yeah.
We can. I think we can help you out
Appreciate
there.
that, Les. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, now one of my wife's all-time favorite students. Let's talk about the little dude, man, Tucker, that would make her laugh every day in CSI class. And she's like, "You got to keep an eye on this kid because he's going to be something someday. You know, he's going to be the next big thing to come out."
Well, and you and I, and we all talk about it, right? We're parents, and we treat all our kids equally.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes that's a challenge because of just the things that they're involved in and the time it takes to, to satisfy those commitments. But, Tucker is, all my kids are special, but Tucker has this, and I mean this in a very special way. He's different. And you hear the cliches and the metaphors, he beats to his own drum. And quite frankly, that is a great way of describing him, because when we were learning about his output or his grades, and then you hear this, again, to Gavin's point, one size doesn't fit all, but I'm trying to get to all of them. Well, good luck with 2,000 kids, right?
Right.
And, Tucker's bored. And because he had incredible teachers like your wife, she found that and figured that out and gave him, this just a little bit of attention and acknowledgement so that he didn't get distracted and, wander off into a place where I think we're all frightened, right? Because you just don't know where people are going to take them. And so Tucker, because we were worried about his grades and the other program that we're kind of modeling, I'm part of the Beaumont Health Systems who acquired Oakwood Health, and we created the Center for Exceptional Families. And there's a medical doctor there who's just phenomenal, Susan Young.
Okay.
And she's the one that diagnosed Morgan. But remember, it's Center for Exceptional Families. So Morgan is the focus, but the dynamics and the potential function or dysfunction because of Morgan, she's aware of all of that. So one of the things is, we're trying to get Morgan to sleep. And this gets back to Tucker. Dr. Youngs goes, "Well, Lisa, are you sleeping?" Morgan's not sleeping. Who else isn't sleeping?
Yeah.
So we went through that discovery, and because we were challenged with Tucker's energy and his lack of responsiveness to the grades, we brought this up. She goes, "Bring Tucker in." So we brought Tucker in, and Tucker's going, he's like defensive, just like special education, right? When you categorize someone's in special ed because Tucker wasn't getting the grades, he's going to go into special ed. And it's like, again, the word special can be used appropriately,
Right.
not negatively.
Right.
So Dr. Youngs goes, and she's got this amazing energy, and she's purpose-driven, servant leader, just one of us. And she goes, "Well, let's sit down, Tucker. We're going to take a test." So they went through this IQ test, and he came out at 127. And she goes, "You're smarter than I am."
Do we have 127? They put the three of us in a room and we
No.
added up cumulative?
We'd have to bring in a multiplication factor and also addition to get to that.
So, he goes, "You're a doctor." And she goes, "Well, you can be too. My IQ isn't that high." So then we had to go through this whole, again, another chasm to cross because it created a discussion, which there isn't enough of, because you can't, one size doesn't fit all. So from that event and the consequence of making that decision, wow.
Tim, think about if one size did fit all, how boring the world would be. If we were all the same.
That's a whole nother, I think we're kind of, living that. And unfortunately or fortunately, the country and the world's in a place of trying to be one size fits all.
Yeah. Can't do it.
thankfully for the Elon Musks of the world, and what Mary
The
Barra
Tuckers of the world.
and the Tuckers of the world. I mean, and Jeff Sofer, I think I referenced him, and Al McPherson, and the impact that these people have when you bring people together, and that's part of events. It's not necessarily just to raise money, but it's the, if you will, the conduit to enterprise, right? Each individual has something to offer. Let's find it. Right? Let's so
be a boring world if we're all the same.
And Tucker is, again, he's 16, just learning how to drive. Scary, warning.
Between him and Ann out on the roads, I stay at home now.
But we
we had the Livingston County Sheriff in.
Oh yeah, let him know.
Yeah, I think you could let him know.
Let him know. So Tucker, again, we have this model that we try to make sure our kids don't enter into the world with any debt. So we really focused on that one-on-one conversation, and each one of them had an opportunity to go to college, and there's X amount of money to do so. So they all had this, okay, you get X, they all get X, and you can go to any university you want. Well, Casey chose Grand Valley, Lexi followed Grand Valley. Tucker could go anywhere because he's at that junior. And he goes, well, what can I do with my money if I don't go to school? Oh. It's a college fund. But you can choose your college, and what money you have left, we'll think about. Collectively, we'll do something with it. Like what? I said, well, invest. Like what? I mean, so he was curious and anxious and excited. So I said, well, read a couple of books. And he read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And then he read The Art of the Deal. And he said, Dad, I want to buy some property. I'm like, now? Oh my gosh. But his appetite, his curiosity, his energy, and quite frankly, he was doing what we asked him to do in order to qualify, just like you would with any department, right? And client, et cetera. So we went through this whole process, and he wrote out this business plan. And again, me, divine intervention. There was a gentleman in town who was getting rid of some properties. And it didn't get to the market. I heard about it, and it's a duplex, and it's in the unbelievable little quiet town of South Lyon. And I said, Tucker, we have an opportunity, but you need to set up a company, name it, etc. So he created and researched it, and I kept asking him every day, what's the name of your company? It's not Tucker and Dad. It's not going to be T&T or anything. I said, okay, all right. What is it going to be? He came back and he ran up a couple days later, he comes running up from his room, and he goes, Dad, I got it. It's called Verheaton. And I'm like, Verheaton? I hope, okay, it's appropriate. And it means immaculate in Finnish. My wife's Finnish.
Yeah.
And I went, you put some thought into this. So your wife, noticing Tucker, right? And I can't remember, and he's going to be mad at me. I can see his face. That's the principal at Horning. Oh my gosh, he's a Red Wing fan. Forgive me, but anyway, they all saw this in Tucker. So we're going through. We're working with Rocket. We're working with Mike Anderson Realty, and Jimmy Dooling is always been one of my favorites.
Sure.
But because the property was being offered by the realtor, we had to work with Mike Anderson. But the Doolings are another. You got to get him in here.
Yeah.
I mean it. Carol.
No, I want to get Carol, Scott, and Jimmy in here,
You got it. First of all, Carol.
Sure.
Okay? Because I think, again, we go back to what do people do, and she doesn't talk about it. I think she answers more questions about what she does than she tells people. And again, those are the ones.
Plus, she has a great agent.
Well, she's like you. She's involved with so much, but she's so quiet and humble that you don't always know everything that she's doing,
So
but
the other thing,
she's out there.
The other thing, I'll just end on this with Tucker, and you and I, we share a devotional, and I thank you for that fellowship. And it's something that really helped me, acquire a number of different things. Number one, discipline. Because when you're going through things, good or bad, you tend to wander and sometimes get desperate, and usually you don't make good decisions in desperation. So I just started practicing this commitment to my children around meditation, prayer, and service. And this goes back to when they started getting their phones and I pay for it. You have to respond to every message or else.
Yeah. Good morning, sunshine. Jesus loves you.
Exactly. And so then it's amazing and thankful that I have this walk in faith with all of my children, but Tucker is profound in a very humble way. He sends me scripture every night, like, good night, Dad. So again, is he doing something pretty special on the business side and what he's doing with his, if you will, his educational fund and how he's working? And he's still going to I think he's going to go to Washtenaw or one of the community colleges. That's what he's been tracking on, and he's going to get into the advanced program. He's taking economics and marketing right here through the great Brighton area schools. Right. And, he's becoming the servant leader. So thank you for asking.
Is he what they used to refer to as an old soul?
Yeah, but,
He may be, if you said old soul, but he's got like new age energy, man. This kid's like,
he does. And again, you want this, but sometimes you got to time it. He is brutally honest, and he'll tell you and ask his sisters and his brother, that doesn't look good on you, right? What are you thinking? I mean, he is, and thankfully so, very, very honest, and I can't be more proud.
So he practices candor.
Very much so. And I don't even think he knew what that meant,
Yeah.
Being so young, but he was, and Lisa's the very same way. And thankfully we work well together to make sure that we, kind of cover the extremes.
Sure. Did you have any athletes in the family?
Well, it's, Tucker's he wants to be an MMA fighter.
Well, he's got the size.
And one of the things that, again, another one of those COD initiatives and if you will, criteria of being a part of, the cell phone fund and the car fund, you got to do this. So you have to get so many, you got to go to school, you got to get the grades. Well, you got to play a sport. You got to exercise a minimum of 1 hour a day. And he just didn't find a lot of joy in a lot of, team sports. And he, for some reason, found, the Scorpion Gym over here off of Grand River. And the owner of that really embraced this virtue of self-defense. And it's amazing, you watch this, how aggressive they are. Like, it's aggressive. But then after they make their move and they make their pin, like hockey, they're helping each other up. Nice move. Are you okay? Again, another one of those little gems that most people don't know about. And thanks to you, I think, these kinds of stories get out and, you're going to say, oh, Scorpion Gym. Okay, I got to go look at that.
Yeah, right.
I think I had a buddy that went down there and said nice things about it. I'm not
it's fabulous.
100% familiar with it, but Scorpion Gym. Okay. Well, good. So what else? We missing anybody? We forget somebody?
Well, we talked about Morgan, right? And she's our leader. She's the family leader. And she's got so much to teach all of us. So thank you for allowing me to give you Morgan. Casey, Lexi.
Right.
We went to Tucker and we jumped over T-Bone.
T-Bone. Yeah, T-Bone. Tell us about this T-Bone kid. I don't think anybody knows about him.
Is that his given name?
Oh my gosh!
Or is that a nickname?
It's now on YouTube, and I was raised with bad nicknames: Flying Hawaiian, Tiny Bubbles, Don Ho, and growing up in the Upper Peninsula, and everybody wore a hat and got a nickname. And Brad, you're going to get one. So here I am with a nickname, Tiny Bubbles, Don Ho, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't want that, but it's stuck. So I made a commitment in high school, 10 years ago, and said, I'm going to make sure my first boy is going to have a nickname that I wanted. Now, this is in 1977, 76, et cetera. And I said T-Bone. So I had a couple of girlfriends, and you can ask Lisa when we first started dating and it was getting serious. You got favorite names just to occupy time on a date or whatever, right? And I said T-Bone, everybody laughs. Ha, 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 ha. Well, Morgan comes along, right? Well, you can't name her T-Bone. Casey comes along, can't name her T-Bone. Lexi comes around. Right. And so Lisa kind of forgot, right? And then it's a boy.
Yeah.
Well, it's T-Bone.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, no. You're serious? So he was unnamed for, 23 hours before discharge. And I said, I'm serious. So I was kind of going back and forth with the kids at home, and Lexi and Casey are home, and they're, if you will, toddlers. And we come up with the name Davis Timothy and T-Bone. So we come home, mom comes home, we go get Genopolis ribs from Genopolis over in Farmington Hills, fine restaurant right here downtown Brighton.
Yeah.
Great story, by the way. And here's a welcome home sign, welcome home T-Bone.
That's fun.
So his name stuck, and then he'd go fast forward to kindergarten, and she never called him T-Bone. And we're in kindergarten, and gosh, I'm going to forget her name. But the principal over there, you go through the roll call, and you got to go up and get a mic and introduce yourself. And some kids are really shy, but they have to. It's a prerequisite. Love it. So all the families are gathered in the back for their kids, and Lisa looks at me and he goes, if he goes up there and says T-Bone, he's going to be bullied. You don't realize what you did. So we waited for his turn. He comes up and he grabs the mic and he goes, hi, my name is T-Bone Cod. And Lisa hits me like, what have you done? And everybody laughs. And she goes, he's going to be bullied. He's going to be beaten up. Blah, blah. What have you done? So we have an anxious afternoon or rest of the day waiting for T-Bone to come home. He jumps off the bus and he comes running up, and Lisa's like, you have any scratches, or did you fight, or what was it? And he goes, Mom, there's a Jack Bone, there's a Joe Bone, there's a Jim Bone. Everybody wants my name. Everybody wants the name Bone. So, and it stuck. And
It's funny. We've talked about how many times conversations about things. I never knew the backstory to T-Bone's nickname. Oh. And it's funny. I'm sitting here crying, laughing about the same conversation at home with my son, Grant. And so I said he needs to have a nickname. You can't do anything in life without having a nickname, right? You got to be special. And Carol was singing songs to him one night as we were putting him in the crib, and she called him Silly Goose. I said, that's it, Goose. And then I could be Maverick, and, the world's right again, right? And so I went with Goose, and the same thing. Going to school, I'm trying to tell Goose, I said, put that on your paper, right? Goose Van Kannel. And Carol's like, he will not do that. I'm an educator in this district, and there's no way I'm letting my... So that's funny.
Yeah.
So T-Bone is doing what now?
So T-Bone is rehabbing from hip repair. Unfortunate hockey injury, and he's playing in the Canadian Hockey League. Graduated from Brighton High School, and couldn't be more proud of Brighton High School, quite frankly, and being a family of Brighton High School, because under the crazy schedule of the dream that he has, they were so accommodating, yet very engaged and accountable. Mm-hmm. There weren't any, okay, by the way, because you're doing this can pass. No, we'll work around it, but you get your work done. Mm-hmm. So again, thanks to Brighton and Gavin and Greg Gray, they gave, again, some leeway, but get your work done. So he graduated from Brighton, and one of the greatest stories, and again, everybody talks about the achievement of the state championship, but the credit really goes to Jimmy Dooling.
Oh, sure.
Because T-Bone didn't have a chance to practice. And if it weren't for Jimmy, and again, the accommodations, because he was at an NHL prospect camp, and he was making the drive, we were making the drive back and forth while he was sleeping. And Jimmy just had this plan mapped out. Mm-hmm. And all T-Bone, it's a lot, he had to do was execute it. And one of the things, and this is again for another day, but one of the things he kept doing while he was at the NHL prospect camp is he kept playing the golf rounds mentally. Mm-hmm. And he's played that golf course so many times that
visualization.
He was in it. And he said, and he had to get excused to come to the event, the high school event, because he was qualified, and it meant the school qualified, not him. Because if it was just him, he would have passed, which is, again, another, amazing story. And he told his agent and the director of the camp. I'm going home to win it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, I think he posted it. It's sleeting out in April, and he knew his schedule was going to be challenged. And he looked at Jimmy Dooling in the camera, and it's raining and snowing, and he's hitting golf balls. And he says, Jimmy, we're going to win a state championship.
Mm-hmm.
So never underestimate the power of the mind. Is he athletic? Absolutely. But it takes more than just being an athlete to execute under pressure and, in the environment like that.
Well, we got to see this up close, and I think it was timing, right? We talked about timing and coming together, and you have a Coach Dooling who I remember seeing all the texts about, guys, you got to believe this, you got to prepare for this, not physically but also mentally, and the challenge and the practice and getting your stuff. And for a guy like T-Bone, I mean, this is what is a sponge, right? Exactly what this kid had been looking for. And again, my son was on the golf team, was never as good as T-Bone, but they love to go up there and play.
Yeah.
T-Bone went up there to work, and that's what I was always amazed at, driving balls. And, he'd, after a workout, he'd go drive golf balls, and then he'd work on chipping and putt. You always saw him up there at Oak Point, but he was practicing. He was working towards this goal.
Well, I'll never thank you, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but again, this visualization is so embedded in my mind because it's 100 degrees out. I'm exaggerating, 90 in a shade. And you know how hot. Mm-hmm. And these golf carts are going by, and they're the kids on the golf team. And he's on the range with me. And they're saying, come on, T-Bone, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. And he'd look at me again. I said, it's up to you. And he'd go, no, thank you. Maybe I'll see you later.
Yeah.
It was always, I will try.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to do that, but I got to accomplish. And he always had these things that he had to do. And he had the choice. Again, you can't outrun the consequences of your decisions. And he made a decision. And the consequences, again, people connotate consequences as negative. His consequences of that effort and that, direction, commitment, discipline, got him.
Well, he understands delayed gratification.
Yes.
He would be, and I know he jumped out and played with the boys a few times, but he always got his work in first.
Yes.
And then he played. And he understood that. And he knew this. And anybody that knew T-Bone, saw him walking in as a freshman, knew that he would win the state someday.
Well, and again, people aren't born with that. And it goes back to, again, parenting and blessings, and it goes all the way back to Morgan. And as I shared with you, we weren't able, because we made the commitment not to go to Florida and Arizona and all these places and Disney because of Morgan. So we went to the Red Wing games. We went to the Piston games. Fortunate or unfortunately, but we were very fortunate because we had the Mike Babcocks of the world. But most importantly, we wouldn't have had Mike Babcock without Ken Holland and the access that we had. And that message from them about the hard work. You think you want to be a pro? Oh, like good luck, because there's a lot of talent that don't have the work ethic or the discipline or the delayed gratification of put the work in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's just amazing. And we could talk all day about him. I've seen some of his golf exploits, and I remember walking around his sophomore year up there with you. And,
oh, yeah, up in
he smokes a 2-iron past everybody on a par 5, and he's there with, spins it back behind the hole. And we go to the next hole, and he gets out of driver, and Dad's yelling from down the fairway, put it away. Just hit something in the fairway. And
he had a 3-stroke lead or a 2-stroke lead.
Yeah, and we're on the back nine of the sophomore, and he's behind a pine tree. You know what I mean? He's up against the road behind a pine tree.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out if he's inbounds, out of bounds, and Tim's ready to kill him. He's so upset with him, and T-Bone big smile, and so he talks to the coach. And he hits the ball less, chips it across the street into yard because it wasn't out of bounds.
Yeah.
And then he comes back across with an unbelievable shot.
Puts it on the green.
It puts it on the green. And his dad's yelling at him, and he comes skipping across. I'll never forget this. Comes skipping across, big smile. He goes, "Hey, Dad, you think that was a great shot or what?" He's like, "Well, what were you doing over there in the first place?"
Well, and that's one of the things. I'm looking at you, and I'm like blowing up thinking, okay, we talk about this, right?
Yeah, but he was using strategery.
Well, whatever he does, and again, I always say, hey, make great decisions, but before you make a decision, understand there are consequences, and know it, live with it. You can't, take back something you already did. Now learn from it.
Well, he finished in the top 5, and some kid came out of nowhere that was in his group that just played lights out. I think the guy, what did he have, like 4 eagles on the par 5s?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just something.
Wow.
Crazy.
There's a lot of talent.
Yeah,
But
it was there. But and a lot of kids would have been, really upset. They would, afterwards he comes bouncing up with a smile. Hey, Mr. Van Kannel, thanks for watching us. And there's a couple other families out there. I think the Lurches were up there at the time, and he thanked them and all smiles and
get him next time.
Yeah, I'll get it.
Yeah, and he said, "I'm going to win one of these," and he did.
So, great hockey player. Go watch him play hockey. He's a fun guy for golf, and we need to get him we need to recruit him for the UTEC summer golf outing scrambles. If he'll help us get a trophy or 2 there, because we're not going to do it on our own, Les. But thank you for coming in. We could keep on talking again, and I'm sure we're going to have you back. And there's going to be things you're doing in the community we want to talk about more. And as Grant's house gets further down the road.
Well, thank you.
I'd love to go remote there and check it out.
Oh, and you should do a before and after, just because, again, Chris is kind of a contractor builder of many things, not just buildings and facilities. And when you find people with purpose and if you will, a connection, and you throw some energy around it, it's amazing what's possible. And I just got to conclude. Thank you. I mean, what you're doing, how you're doing it. Again, family first. Friends, community, and then taking what you have and doing with it what you do there isn't enough of it. So thank you. Keep up the great work.
Modern day Forrest Gump. Love him.
All right. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you.